Welcome to my little Garden of Eden. This is being recorded on September 28th, 2017. A couple years ago, I started the Back to Eden gardening system because I have carpal tunnel and it's very hard for me to run a tiller anymore and not have a lot of restless nights. So I started watching a lot of videos, and if you Google Back to Eden gardening, you can see exactly what I'm doing. This end of my garden looks pretty good, except for the rhubarb over there. I had to move my rhubarb last year because of having a load of wood chips dropped off by our local REMC guys. So they are in a new spot this year and did fairly well until the last month, and I'm not sure if they've gone dormant or if they have died. I've got one plant left. So I'll have to kind of babysit that and see what's going on with it. But this end of the garden, we had started this a couple years ago, just by mulching with newspapers and grass clippings and leaves and whatever we could find, sometimes some spent straw or hay. And this end, we've already had crops here, and this is a second planting. We've got new kale, cabbage, there's radishes and lettuce, a row of turnips, there's some potatoes. They didn't do very good the second time around. Last year we had a very good crop after we had already harvested, and so I tried it again this year as a second planting, and it didn't do very well, but it's coming up, so we're going to leave it there. And then we've got two split rows of Swiss chard, and as you can see, there's really not a whole lot of weeds there. Then we put up a couple of cattle panels that will hold all the peas. This is a second planting of peas also, and they were a totally different type of peas, so we didn't get as much from them because we didn't really have time for them. They're the kind that you have to shell, and who has time to sit down and shell peas? I have done some, and I will finish harvesting these, but it's not top of my priority list right now. Then we've got a couple rows of strawberries, and a week ago they looked very good, nice and big and bushy. The first row here was an everbearing strawberry, and we're still picking strawberries. You can still see some red ones out there. And I don't remember what the second row is, but they're huge. They were huge. They don't look so good right now because the deer have been in here eating the tops. So we've got to figure a way to get the deer out of the garden. They'll come back. They're not going to die because of that, but they just don't look very pretty right now. But again, look, there aren't very many weeds. And then we come down here to where I had those two bare rows. There were cabbages and broccoli, and you can see where we have pulled up plants already that some grass and weeds are coming back in, which I can get in there and either pull those, or I will go ahead and keep mulching on top of that to keep building it up, and it'll just kill the weeds after a while. Then we've got the tomatoes. Nice big row of tomatoes. And look at the row in between. There really isn't any weeds. There's some underneath the plants, but only because they were so bushy that we couldn't get in there and see all the weeds. And now, with it being September, the vines are dying. I can probably pick a lot of those red ones and make some kind of salsa or something out of it, and I will. Down on the far end are the heirloom tomatoes, and they didn't look very pretty, but man, they were good. I don't remember what kind they were. They were kind of a chocolatey color on top and red on the bottom. Then we've got buku rows of bell peppers, some jalapenos, and on the far end, between the peppers and the tomato that's on the end, we've got pepperoncinis, which are very good. It's the kind of peppers that you get when you order pizza. Had some eggplants in those cages. They did pretty good. And the Volunteer Yellow Jelly Belly tomatoes are one of my favorites. You can walk through the garden and have a meal just on those. The hairy patch here, it really wasn't all that hairy. And you can see that there really aren't a whole lot of weeds in there. Those are sweet potatoes, and they have literally taken over this end of the garden. Now, this is the trouble spot. You can see there's dead spots. The part that didn't have the dead spots, it's full of weeds right now and grass, were our first crop of green beans. And they've since been pulled out. And I didn't get that mulched back in, so now I've got to go in and pull weeds. Only because this end did not get taken care of as well as the other end with all the mulching that we had to do. This, I will kill the rest of this year, either by mowing it down real low or just covering it with plastic or newspapers and grass clippings. We've got leaves coming on. I know we're going to have leaves because it's fall. And next year, hopefully, this will be built up enough with layers that it'll be just like the other end. There's some kale and a wild mustard that obviously was here last year that went ahead and seeded for me, so we've eaten on that a couple of times this summer. It's pretty darn good. Then we've got a row of okra. We all love okra, but I have to cut the big leaves off of mine because it is such a wicked plant that it just eats your arms up and your hands. They are prickly little things, and they're not much fun to be in. And then look at this. This won't look like this next year. It'll get mowed down. I will cover it, and it'll be so much better. And on the very far side, I've got a whole row of asparagus, which my husband tells me if I would get in and pull the weeds, I would have asparagus about all summer long. So hopefully by next summer, I will have all that under control as well. The big bushy thing down there, that's an elderberry bush that I dug out of a fence row and planted there because I wanted to use the elderberry flowers or the berries, which this year I missed the flowers, but I did get the berries off of it. So I've got an elderberry tincture sitting in the cabinet waiting on just time. It takes time to make that. So I will have it when I need it for colds and flu and whatever. We put up another cattle panel along the driveway and at the edge of the garden. And that's where we had all of our cucumber vines growing. And it really did pretty good. They're of course gone now. Cucumber season's over. But then we also had, you can see the balls hanging there. That was a volunteer cantaloupe. And we need to research on cantaloupes a little bit because I can never pick them and have them really good. But this was a volunteer, so maybe it wasn't supposed to be a very good year for cantaloupes. I don't know. But that is my Back to Eden gardening. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll take another couple of videos of some other areas that we have. But this is the one that I did the Back to Eden method with. Thanks for watching.